All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. Something's in the water said, I don't want to be first. That's a first. First person that came in first and said, no, thank you. Seems like only yesterday, or maybe it was so long ago, when people used to race to the comment section. But what's up? Yeah, I know it's a different time, so changing it up. I know it's everybody has schedules that they have to adhere to. People have schedules and lives and whatnot, and they got to do things. Do all the things. But we're all here. Now we're here. And we'll be here for, next 50 minutes or so. But what's up? Some people filing in. Hello. People coming in. Delene, Major, Tom. Folks on Rockfin waiting for Colin. Sorry, I didn't mean to scratch my beard on camera. Did I get this? Did I get it? I don't know. Don't know if I did. Anybody on Twitter? We're on Twitter. Yep. Excuse me. You know how the Biden administration has voted against endorsing a ceasefire. Because we're the good guys. Because we believe in democracy. Like the entire world is like, hey, There's people just being slaughtered, women and children, on such a massive scale that people are shocked and in horror. And all we seem to have time to do is point the finger at, like, Putin. Putin is a madman. I'm not saying he's a good guy, but yes. I'm just looking at this thing from Ian Carroll, and he seems to have he's putting together some things that I put together. It's not that hard to put together, honestly, but Ian Carroll's pretty good. Mm-hmm. 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 Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, Putin is a madman. He's the devil. He's Hitler. But when the entire world is in an outcry and an uproar against what Israel is doing and the fact that the U.S. is backing it, we're like, no, it's fine. But Hamas. But October something, right? Just absolute madness. Absolute madness. Yeah. So it's, yeah. Well, Salma, I don't think you have to. Don't think you have to worry about offending anybody, but do what you must. Do what you will. Excuse me. Who was in LA getting their Israeli kickbacks? Oh, Gavin Newsom. Got to get them Israeli kickbacks. All right. Let's look at this from Gem. It's a Thursday, by the way, already. This week just flew by. He said, excuse me. Man. I've been waking up at 5 in the morning. I'm just feel a little worked over. All right. Sometimes I return to being a bearer of bad news. I do that when the situation is worse than I thought. It means I'm undergoing a bit of recalibration of my own sense of the future, which is ongoing. If you feel difficult emotions, excuse me, God dang it. If you feel difficult emotions from reading the latest data on climate, then please reach out to the people engaged in the deep adaptation movement. Here is my summary of the latest temperature data and the awkwardness of the institutional climatology and engaging with that. Essays on collapse risk and readiness. This is Jim Mendel. Speed matters more than size when considering impacts of climate change. Starts out with a quote, but the world's climate was as hot as this in the past, say some knowledgeable folks. Do you hear this a lot? I do. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Come on, man. Quit fucking with me. Hey, listen. I'm not messing around today. I do. The obvious answer is sure. It was especially hot when our planet was a chunk of molten rock spun out from the sun. But back in Terra Logica, the main issue for ecosystems and agriculture is the speed of climate change, which is something that, you have to be somewhat versed in climatology and climate change in order to understand what that is? Or understand why, and you actually have to, believe that climate change is happening to even get to the point of understanding this, right? It's happening faster than expected, which is what the powers that be will never tell you. And, to all the people that are like, well, stop listening to those people about the solutions to climate change. Yes, true, exactly. They're lying to you about the solutions. They're lying to you about the severity of the problem. That doesn't mean that it's not a problem. Which is, I don't know what you would call that. Is that a logical fallacy? I don't know. So, thinking that the person who is speaking on something, just because a particular person is speaking on something, it makes the thing that they're saying. It's kind of like Trump derangement syndrome. Like everything Trump says is a lie. Well, that's absolutely ignorant. Is he a liar? Yes. But if you just take, and people have actually done this, liberals have actually done this, taken literally everything that he said and turned it into a lie. It's like, well, come on, man. Even liars tell the truth once in a while, or can be correct about things once in a while. He's not an absolute idiot. You can't be an absolute idiot and then, employ some, but the position that he employs in the world. You got to know something about something. So, anyways, I can't. Again, I'm tired of just, I just said what I said, and I'm tired of disclaiming. Disclaimers about Trump, I'm tired of them. So I'm going to stop doing them. I'm just going to speak my mind. I don't like Joe Biden much. That doesn't mean that he can't be right about something once in a while. I'm sure that he is. The problem with this issue of the speed of change is that consensus in climate science moves very slowly. The more funding that went into climate science, the greater was the amount of research and people to find consensus amongst. That meant the key signals like the 2017 paper predicting 1.5 C by 2025, not far off, went largely unnoticed by institutional climatology and was certainly not acted upon. In a 2021 chapter with Dr. Rupert Reed, and a top German climatologist who chose to remain anonymous, we explain the limitations of mainstream climatology for telling us the real situation. We pointed to how in fast-moving crises with high hazards, there needs to be an ability to identify salient information rapidly. This even has a name, post-normal science. Sure. Post-normal science sounds a little silly. Being able to assess a situation, taking the evidence of your eyes and your ears and your other senses and in your brain, and turn it into it's something that people do all the time. It's something that bankers do. It's something that people in the military do. It's right? It's just called quick assessment. Speedy assessment of the situation. Here's what's happening. What do we do? I mean, there's no reason why science can't do the same thing, especially when you're faced with, a threat. Cataclysmic world-ending damage to the climate is actually an existential threat. And as part of the way in which they misinform people about climate change, right? Because it's moving so slowly, they know that they can get people confused about whether it's happening or not, or what's really happening, or how skeptical are people around it, right? And all the past wrong predictions have added to a big pile of things that everybody can point to and go like, see, they said there was going to be an ice age in 1974 and it didn't happen. See, Ted Turner said there was going to be billions of people dead. Greta Thunberg said, right, whatever. You can point to all the bad predictions and just say, see, that was stupid. Okay. Anyways. Except for the time when it's correct, then you might go, oh, well, yeah. Should have paid attention. In a 2021 chapter with Dr. Rupert Reed and a top German climatologist who chose to remain anonymous, we explained the limitations of mainstream climatology for telling us the real situation. We pointed to how, did I read that already? The slowness of institutionalized climatology means the top scientists recently celebrated the commitment of the IPCC to publish a report in 2027 about the possibility that multiple neglected factors are increasing the pace of climate change. Can't wait for that to come out. That'll be some fascinating reading. Maybe they will still be able to feel good about the report in 2027. I'd not bet on it. In that context, despite it being a digital trigger alley where reasonable people are demeaned by those who need to vent, Twitter is actually proving a useful tool for sharing the latest and salient climate data and analysis. In particular, Leon Simons and retired Professor Elliot Jacobson have been doing great work over the past 18 months. Of course, it is ridiculous that a planet of 8 billion people with tens of thousands of professional journalists has not been producing more than a handful of people doing cutting-edge, real-time analysis on the issue that matters most to the future of humanity. But here we are. Turning to climate Twitter, we discover that there's something up with our global climate that the top scientists and journos aren't shouting about yet, maybe because it's too frightening. Global temperatures have just averaged 1.7 C above pre-industrial levels for a 6-month period. Does that not sound so big? Well, that's in comparison to 13.8 C average temps back in 1890. If we take half a year as a reasonable indicator of current averages, rather than a momentary anomaly, then that is about a 0.5 C increase since an average of 1.2 C warming for the whole year of 2022. The indicator is around a 0.5 C leap in a year. That indicates around a 0.5 C leap in a year. Studies of Antarctic ice cores suggest that previous global rises of 0.5 C took about 500 years or more. That's even shown in those graphs used by skeptics of climate change. 1 year versus 500 years. Can we agree something's happening here? I'd say it's exactly clear. These measurements demonstrate that we are in the midst of abrupt climate change. Once we understand how such additional heat will lead to less CO2 being absorbed by the oceans, amongst various other amplifying feedbacks, as I describe in the climate chapter of Breaking Together, we realize how this situation is going to damage our own lives. That's what I tried to get across with my deep adaptation paper back in 2018. That shift in awareness helped to ignite a new kind of activism. Before the backlash came. Much of that pushback came from people aligned to the nuclear industry or who desired the ear of elites, and it helped to gut the movement of a truly radical agenda. I should emphasize that the figures I give here are rough estimates, and I'd welcome more precise calculations from people to crunch different data sets to compare different changes or current changes with past warming periods in the Holocene. But we shouldn't let that distract us from the key insight here. Current, abrupt climate change means that humanity needs emergency responses that are fair and accountable. Let me ask you a question. What do you think is worse? A, people who don't pay attention or dismiss this topic as they haven't got the time or skills to investigate and find it reassuring to listen to people who claim it's not a problem or that it is fixable or that another problem is more urgent. B, people who work on this matter and are using rising concern to embellish their careers, income, status, identity, worldview, or even votes, so they deny it is anything other than a predicted and manageable situation using the latest tech. C, people who work on this matter and realize tech won't fix it, so are desperately imagining eco-authoritarianism as the way to do something significant about it or shift their anxiety and despair a bit by becoming aggressive. I ask that because I think with knowledge comes responsibility. Therefore, it is a tragedy that both climate science and environmentalism over recent decades became dominated by professional self-interest green capitalist agendas and a counter-revolutionary admiration of power and status. I'm sorry for the part I played in that. Instead, an eco-libertarian agenda that seeks to free individuals, and communities from the harmful pressures and manipulations of global capitalism is needed to help soften the crash and plant some seeds of what might be possible. Hey, hold on. Might be possible in a new era. Sorry about that, guys. There are some signs that my previous professional field of climate sustainability is waking up now to smell how their organic coffee won't save the world. However, as I explained in the editorial of the Deep Adaptation Review, the professionals most closely wedded to the industries that benefit from stories of techno-salvation from ecological disaster, the renewables, electric vehicles, nuclear, and big tech sectors, are doggedly hanging on and either ignoring or continuing to demean those of us who were more accurate in our assessments. Will it become easier for them to imagine an end to their connection with reality than the end of their past identities, worldviews, and income? Perhaps only if they could blame us doomsters for being something bad. A doomster sounds so much better than a doomer. Like a doomster sounds like a teenager. Like a teenage doomer. He's just a doomster. He's one of those doomsters. You know the type. Those crazy, kooky, wacky. Hold on, guys. My goodness. Let's see. Give me a second. Here we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, okay. Getting back to this. Perhaps if only they could blame us doomsters for being something bad, even though we were closer to the truth of the matter and had to tolerate their abuse. I guess some might say we are gloating over the apocalypse, but no, we just want to shift the conversation and action agenda onto how to cope kindly with unfolding societal disruption and collapse. Please check out the Deep Adaptation Forum if you want to engage others on the agenda. Well, Doomster is a doom teamster in the union. Okay. Guy McPherson isn't talking about the nuclear industry anymore. I don't know. Is that true? I apologize. I apologize that I don't, like I said, I don't really pay attention. I don't take in a lot of climate change content anymore. Except for, I get the updates about what's going on Twitter and whatnot. I see the extreme weather things that are going on. I mean, everything kind of lines up with, what we've all heard about it. So I don't, I'll pay no, never mind. What the heck is wrong with me? Hold on one second, guys. Anyways, yeah, I don't, I don't watch Guy McPherson videos anymore. I don't really, you know, I see Paul Beckwith tweeting, on the Twitter, but I'm not watching. I'm not like taking in a lot of climate change content. I mean, why don't I watch it, Gene? Because there's nothing more for me to learn about it. I get, it's like I got it. I got it. I get it. And even, I know that I'm talking about it daily, but I feel like I'm just repeating myself. And I think it's I think it's important to have conversations about it, but I don't see, I'm interested in people that are talking clearly about it. It just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's cynicism on my part or lack of. I think it's an important subject. I don't know what we do, about it. I think the best way is to live in a way that is in accordance with, being aligned with as much as you can, being outside of the system and being aligned with the planet. And I'm constantly kind of trying to get better at that. But as far as climate change goes, there's, I might have my ear to the ground, and I see the progression of it, and I'm kind of interested in how quickly it's progressing. Where do I think we're going to be in the next couple of years? Like, that's interesting to me. What what kind of actions can we take on an individual level in our lives over the next 5 or 10 years? But what's as important to me as anybody making a video about climate change is my own observation of it, right? Like this. So it's kind of personal. This interaction that we have around it, I think, is kind of just as important as anything else. Like, our discussion about the ocean not smelling, that was, that's a very interesting. When I see, I see the effects of climate change all the time. I see them, I feel them. It's interesting to me to take note of those changes and talk about them with people. But like, I don't need to get a rundown of like necessarily like what climate change is or how it works, or, and we know that we're screwed. We know that we're screwed. And, unless there is some kind of gigantic motivating force in the world that is going to jar people awake and get them to move together in really manifesting like some serious change, then I don't know what we can do other than talk to each other about it and just prepare or live in a way that's aligned, more aligned with our beliefs and what we see happening, and trying to find ways to live that are healthy, that are positive, that are nurturing, that are compassionate, that those are the things that we can do. Poppy Davis says BBN is not climate 101, more like 501. I mean, and it's also interesting to me. Here's what's interesting to me: the political, milieu that we live in. The way people think about climate change, that's interesting to me. Why do people reject it? Where's the propaganda coming from? What are the sources of people's disbelief around this? Why, I mean, me watching a climate change video or somebody talking about how bad climate change is, it's just, like I get it. I'd rather have conversations with people that are skeptical maybe or open-minded about like other things that are going on the planet and ways in which we interact. I don't, like I said, like I don't. And even telling people how bad climate change is and that we're all gonna meet some kind of horrible end, that's not something I'm interested in. I'm not going to sit on Twitter and go like, well, it's all over. We're all, that's it. Like, pack your bags, guys. We're going to, we're going down. Like that should be something that people talk about to each other. But I just, if people don't want to hear that, that's why I talk to y'all. That's why I have this show. That's why this show is kind of such a close-knit community, because we get it on a level, but it's like, I already did all the running around telling people that how bad it was, and most people were like, all right. Anyways, moving on. They either didn't care, didn't want to hear it, either weren't receptive, or just, were like, well, let me know when it gets really bad, okay? William Dillon says, I like to read Professor Elliot Jacobson on Twitter daily. Yeah, I mean, there are ways that you can find, there are people I follow on Twitter that I rather, Steve Austin, I rather like a lot. I like his take. I like what he has, Jem Bendell, I really like his takes. I like what they have to say. There's a few of the personalities that I like. Very few. Elliot Jacobson blocked me because I challenged him on. He's a COVID guy, and I took him to task, and I don't think he appreciated that. So, and I probably just didn't do it very well. What can I say? But nothing against Elliot Jacobson. I like his, I liked his content. And maybe I shouldn't care. What somebody thinks about COVID or vaccines, but I find it, I care because I don't like people spreading misinformation. Right? I don't like people playing into the hoax. Sorry, I didn't say that. Playing into the narrative that might or might not be true. And that narrative is kind of damaging people's understanding of what's really going on. And so I don't really, I push back on that because you're damaging people's understanding of what's going on. And so I generally just try to say, hey, there are reasons why people feel, the way they do about this. And maybe coming from, I challenge it because coming from me, right? You think that people that think a certain way are, those guys are all right wingers and Trumpers and crazy. No, I'm not at all. I'm not at all. So I'm coming from a different silo. I'm coming from a different understanding. You would think that people would be more people that are like, oh, well, this guy understands that climate change is real and like seems to be, pretty lefty and like comes from an area, whatever, an area of understanding that I can align with, so when they say something that's like not that doesn't align with something, you would think that maybe they would give you more respect. And well, why do you think this way? Huh? Well, this guy, why? No, just reject it outright. No, blocked. It's like, okay, well, yeah. Anyways, that doesn't to me, that kind of reaction from people is, raises an eyebrow for me. Like, oh, okay, well, all right. I mean, I don't care if somebody has something to say to me that I don't, I'll say something if somebody has something to say that I don't align with. But I'll say what I got to say and just move on. I don't need to block you. I don't need to be like, okay, I didn't agree with that. All right. So see you later. Have a nice day. Whatever. I don't know. We didn't agree. Okay. Oh, I appreciate that, William. Thank you. Sound level is good today. That's good. Yeah, I didn't. And that's what I love so much about Jem Bundell is because he's, I mean, it's so crazy to me to see the people that push back at him, the people that are just so entrenched. Yeah, so entrenched in their beliefs. They're like, oh my God, Jem, how could you even say this stuff, man? It's like, I don't know. You respect him around his views on climate change. Why don't you hear him out? Why don't you consider his point of view instead of just, because I would be interested, if somebody that I respect their view on things and they have, I don't know. Oh, yeah. Maybe I'm just rambling. Dun dun dun. Yeah. Well, this is from Steve Austin. Climate crisis? What climate crisis? The collapse will be stunning. Heathrow returns to profit with record passenger numbers forecast for 2024. Airport announces pre-tax profit of £38 billion for 2023. £38 billion profit. £38 billion. That's a lot of money. Doug Barr, increasing travel is evidence there's parallel growth of the belief in escapism. Well, he says the collapse will be stunning. Well, yeah. What was I? Let's listen to somebody talk about. Oh, I can't remember my point now. Forget it. Forget it. All right. From I think Obsolete Optics sent this to me by way of Kevin Blanche. About the radioactive waste, barrels of radioactive waste off the coast of California. We're never going to get them back. More than 56,000 barrels of radioactive waste dumped off the U.S. coast LAT reports, LA Times, I guess. A new report in the Los Angeles Times indicates the pollution in the Pacific Ocean off the California coast could be even more dangerous than originally thought. Lovely. Lovely. That is awesome. So great. What was once thought to be thousands of barrels of DDT may actually be low-level radioactive waste. And the DDT that was detected was not contained in barrels at all, but rather poured directly into the ocean. Yeah. Osama, that is a great quote. We can't have billionaires and stop climate change. Exactly. Billionaires gotta go. Billionaires have got to go. Gene says, please dedicate a show to discuss all the ways climate collapse will cause billionaires to suffer. Thanks. Well, if you are a billionaire concerned about climate change, unless you are showing me how you are giving up your wealth, living frugally, living off grid, encouraging other billionaires to get, and giving up your position. Give up your position. So power, your board appointments, just lead by example. Be an example for people of the planet. See, look what I'm doing. We will not solve climate change unless we agree that there should be a maximum wage. Sorry, my bad. War, yes, war too. Should not be any more billionaires, should be no more war. Yeah, I respect that about Jim too. He questions the narrative. He questions the liberal, which is what upset me about Elliot Jacobson. But that's cool. That's fine. Some people can only see one particular area clearly. That doesn't mean they can see other things clearly. But that's just how he feels, and that's okay. It's fine. He feels like that is real and true for him, and that's okay. Anyways, instead, scientists they believe that the DDT was poured directly into the ocean. Instead, scientists believe that between the 1940s and 1960s, local hospitals, labs, and other industrial operations disposed of barrels of tritium, carbon-14, and other similar waste at sea. The Times reported on Wednesday. Yeah, the numbers of such disposals are staggering. One map from the International Atomic Energy Agency said that over a 25-year period ending in 1970, more than 56,000 barrels of radioactive waste had been dumped into the Pacific Ocean on the U.S. side alone. Scientists have spotted some of those barrels under more than 3,000 feet of water near Catalina Island, a place they're likely to stay. Yeah, the problem with the oceans as a dumping solution is once it's there, you can't go back and get it, said Ken Busler, marine radiochemist, senior scientist at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and director of the Center of Marine and Environmental Radioactivity. These 56,000 barrels, for example, well, we're never going to get them back. Yeah. No, you won't. Let's see. All right, let's jump to Rockfin for like 10 minutes. All right. Yeah, we just, we didn't know these things were so poisonous, so we just threw them into the ocean back in the day, like, we got to get rid of this. Nobody wants this stuff anymore. Plus, it's poisonous. I mean, geez. What do you expect us to do with it? All right. Before we go to Rockfin for a few minutes, the very best ways to support the channel, if you don't know already, well, you can super chat me, you can super ray me, but you can buy me a coffee. Oh, I forgot. Somebody did buy me a coffee yesterday. I totally almost forgot about this. Catherine, Katie, bought me 3 coffees. Thanks for doing your show. Hope you get enough to cash in soon, she said. Thank you. You can Cash App me at Red Llama Music. You can Venmo me at Kevin Samblum. You can PayPal me at paypal.me/Kevin Samblum. You can Zelle me, Kevin Samblum at protonmail.com. And I'll see you on Rockfan YouTubers. I'll see you tomorrow at same time, noon, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard.